Olá pessoal, my name is Carla, but you can call me Carlinha, and today I'm here to show you how to make authentic Brazilian Beijú, also known as tapioca. And you ask me, what is tapioca? Well, tapioca, we can say that's a pancake, but we can also say that's a wrap. To make this first part of the tapioca is very easy and very cheap. You only really need 3 ingredients, and 2 of them you pretty much have at home all the time. So these are all the ingredients you really need for this first part. So I'm gonna show you 2 ways. One way is the traditional one that only goes water, tap water, normal, not hot, no cold, tapioca starch and salt. And the second one is also tapioca starch, salt, and here I have beetroot juice. You can make the water content with any other vegetable. For a green color, you can add a juice of rocket, so you can play around. So this recipe is actually not mine, it's from a Brazilian chef called Rodrigo Oliveira. And since I saw this recipe a few years ago, I started doing with the ingredients that I find here in Australia, and actually came out very well. And every time I make it, it's the same way, it's the same amount. I will first show you how to make the traditional one, and to make the beetroot one is exactly the same process. I actually want to show you this tapioca starch. I buy this one on Coles, but you can actually find on Woolies as well, and in Asian shops. So like I said, for this first part, you're only gonna use 3 ingredients, but I'm also gonna need a bowl, a whisk, that's optional, and I'm gonna be using a gloves for the hand that I'm gonna be mixing up, because I find easier to do with the hands, and I guess you're gonna find as well. So if you want to know the amount of the ingredients, they are all going to be in the description. So I'm going to start by putting all starch inside of the bowl. After putting all the tapioca starch in the bowl, I'm going to put the salt. Then I'm gonna use the whisk to mix up the salt with the tapioca starch. You don't need to use the same tapioca starch that I use. I know there are other brands and even Brazilian brands that sell here. But to be honest, this is very cheap. It's like $1. So in the end, it's the same taste. So you just choose what you want to buy. So then now, slowly, you're going to add the water and then combine with your hands, but also breaking through, because the water with the starch are going to create these blocks of starch, and then you want to actually break through. As you mixing up and breaking, you're going to keep putting the water slowly until you have no more water. Normally, I use all this amount that I'm gonna put in the description, but of course, depending on the brand you're using, you may need to use less or a bit more. In the process of making, you can actually make some like a few tests. So you take like a bit of the tapioca starch, you press in your hand, kind of like, you can try to make a ball. And then you press your other finger, and then you see that when you press, it comes up like, this one is almost there, but it comes up still a little bit like little pieces, and it means that's not all hydrated yet. So you keep breaking through pieces as it comes along, and then adding more water. Then you press but when you press, it comes like in 3 big blocks. So that means that the tapioca is ready. So after here, we're going to pass through a sieve, and then we can actually going to have our tapioca. So now my tapioca is all sieved, and it has this like consistency of sand, but a bit finer. So what I'm gonna do is I need like a container that is well dried, and I'm also gonna need a paper towel and water inside of a spray. I'm gonna start by putting all my tapioca starch, and that's okay, you know, when you try to put inside, it comes a little bit blocks, but don't worry about it. When you put in the pot, in the pan, it's all gonna be fine. But if you really bother with that, you can always sift when you put it in the pan. And then now what I'm going to do is like I'm gonna get the paper towel, the same kind of level. I'm gonna close, and then I'm gonna spray a bit of water in the paper towel, so it is going to help not dry so much our tapioca. Because I'm storing in the fridge, so it keeps them moist. You see, like even though I spray a lot here, in the other side it's still not as wet, so that is good because it's slowly, it's just wet on top. Then I will close. And that's my traditional tapioca done. I'm gonna do the same step with the beetroot one, and then I can show you how I finish up my tapioca. So to make the beetroot juice, I just start by putting the water inside of a blender and also the beetroot pieces, and I blend it very well. So once it's done, I pass through the sieve. And how vibrant or weak your color is going to be depend on how much beetroot you put inside of the blender. Then I check again to make sure I have the right amount of liquid. And after I hydrate the tapioca starch, I pass it through the sieve. And I store exactly the same way as I did with the traditional one, by putting in a container that has a lid, and then covering with the paper towel and spraying a bit of the water on top of the paper towel, so it keeps the moist inside of the container, and I can keep stored inside of the fridge. I have all my ingredients aside, so here I have the traditional tapioca, and also I have my beetroot tapioca. I'm using this pan, it's a smaller one that I have, and also a skimmer that's easy to transfer the tapioca to the bottom of the pan. I'm gonna start using ghee, but I'm gonna show you the both ways, with and without. So I add the ghee until it melts, and I use my skimmer to take the tapioca and put in the pan. So I just take that amount that I think is enough to cover the bottom, and then I just chuck it like that, simple. The skimmer is gonna help me spread the tapioca in the bottom of the pan. Do not press the middle of the tapioca, just take up the excess in the middle and put in the sides to cover any hole, and just in the border of the tapioca you press just to elevate it. So now, like you can see, we're going to start adding the filling. So we're going to divide in half of the tapioca, so half of it is with filling and the other half is not. So my filling today is what I had in the fridge, so I start by putting the cheese. So it starts like with the heat, it's gonna help melting. So I have salami, I'm also gonna add. I'm gonna add a little bit of pesto, but you can add also chimichurri. I do prefer with chimichurri, but today I only had pesto. And then I just add a bit of fresh leaves, so just on top. And in these leaves I'm just using a combination of spinach and rocket, but you can use mixed salad. Also you can skip. It really comes down for what you want to add. Like you can see, now the cheese is a bit starting melting, so it's when I'm gonna turn half of the tapioca. So just like, you know, let's say it's a bread and you just cut it in half and you put in the filling. So I make sure the cheese is out of the side, and then I'm gonna get the skim again, and with the spatula I'm gonna turn the tapioca to the other side just to make sure it's all heated. This first tapioca is ready. You can see in the sides that the cheese is melted and golden, so this first one is done. So here is a tip. I'm gonna scrap down all the tapioca instead of putting in the water, because the water is gonna cool down my pan. So I'm gonna take a paper towel and clean up this tapioca, and my pan is gonna continue hot so I can add the second batch. So I'm not going to use the ghee in this one, just to show you. So I get the skimmer and take some of the tapioca again, and let me show you. So I just chuck, you see, and then I spread around the pan gentle, and then the leftover that comes to the top I just put in the side. And just make sure it's leveled so I can press the sides, and then I start putting the filling for this one. So I don't really wait too long to put the filling, because as the tapioca cooks, the filling also heats. So there I have meat. So this one is a pulled brisket that I had at home already. So I just heat it on the microwave, and I'm just putting on top of the cheese. And the tapioca and this meat warm is gonna help the cheese to melt. And then I'm adding a bit of cream cheese. I'm using this cream cheese. And I also had some leftover of my red onion pickles, so I just added on top. Was almost like a cleanup of my fridge. And then I finalized putting also the leaves, that is the same leaves from before, spinach with rocket. And you know the tapioca is ready when the sides is out from the pan, and then you just turn to the side, and then you flip it over again, just like before, because the cheese is going to be melted and golden, just like you can see here. So if you like this recipe, please make it, tag me, and also don't forget to subscribe here in this channel, like, and you can find me also on Instagram. And that's it. Thank you. See you next time.